And so once you hear your voice on a microphone for the first time, like in headphones, it's kind of this cool, like, whoa, wait a minute, hello.
There is only one you, and that is your superpower. You can't F that up. However, you can get stuck. That's why I created this space called Unstuck Yourself with Crystal Simmons. Unstuck Yourself is about figuring out what has you feeling frustrated, isolated, or depleted of energy so that you're able to unstuck yourself on your journey through life when you don't know how to move forward. Unstuck yourself in your career that no longer excites and challenges you. Unstuck yourself with negative thoughts that seem to be doing cartwheels in your head consistently. I don't have the answers. You do. You always have. I'm providing the time, space, and grace for you to reconnect to that knowing. I'm Crystal Simmons, coach, speaker, and facilitator, and I'm grateful you made it here. Let's begin to unstuck yourself. Hello, you dope humans. Welcome back. Today we have Linné Diiorio is a voiceover artist, marketing consultant, public speaker, and a skilled facilitator. In her home studio, she records commercials, podcast intros and outros, video narration, and messages for on-hold telephone systems. Don't you always wonder, who is doing that? This is a real life person who does it. Linné is a voice actor, and she pulls from her seasoned career in event planning, destination marketing, and venue sales to deliver powerful scripts and strong brand voice for her clients. As a marketer, she is sought after for copywriting, script writing, branding, and social media content creation. Friends and family have leaned on her for relationship advice her entire life, so she recently added relationship coach to her list of credential and certification. Her career path has exposed her to opportunities to work with international, national, and statewide associations, nonprofits, and corporations of all sizes. Her keen ability to listen and collaborate with current and potential clients allow her to build strong relationships. She's comfortable in the crowd, she's never met a stranger, and loves having a microphone in hand. While studying media arts and design at James Madison University, Linné met her husband, Mike, and they are raising their 2 children in Midlothian, Virginia. Here's our very interesting and fun conversation with Linné Diiorio. Enjoy! Hello, peeps. I want to ask the question that I always ask my guests who come on to the Unstuck Yourself with Crystal Simmons podcast. The same question. So we have Linné. Pronounce your last name for me.
Diiorio, like D plus the cookie.
That's exactly what I thought of. So we have Linné Diiorio, and I want people to know, the purpose of this podcast is not only to highlight my stuck moments, but also create a space for people like Linné to share their moments as well and their stories. Now, Linné, before we dive into the dopeness that you are, I want you to share with the peeps how little Linné paved the way for the current Linné that sits before me today.
Ooh, that's a good one. So little Linné wanted to be a lawyer.
I'll
try to keep this concise.
No, just go ahead and share.
I was always a go-getter, involved in all the things, still just as I am today. But once I got to college, I thought I was going pre-law. And then, you meet other people, you get involved in activities. And I got bitten by the event planning bug and started doing events on campus and working for that organization and really focused on that more than my major. And then through those people, I actually switched my major to media arts and design with a concentration in multimedia, and was in there with all the journalism folks, the video production, audio production, script writing, and I fell in love with that. So I stuck with that and then graduated and didn't find a job in that field or in concert production, which is really what I wanted to do. Then I realized, do I want to work nights and weekends for the rest of my life? It was a young person's job, but those were really hard to find. Fast forward to today, having been in sales and marketing in hospitality for a very long time, most of my career, I'm excited to say that I'm actually back using my major in doing voiceover and providing those services, marketing, consulting, script writing, copy editing, all of the things that I did in college. But the thing that I've learned the most is I can lean on some of that education, but technology has evolved. I mean, one, it's gotten easier technology has certainly evolved, which makes it more accessible, makes it easier. Software is readily available. Back in the day, Pro Tools was the, software that we were learning on at school, but you couldn't afford to buy it for yourself and use it at home. So
Of course.
then the pandemic itself caused this pivot and made everything more homebound. Before,
Yeah.
voiceover artists had to work with a studio. Home studios were kind of, not considered professional or high quality. So
Wow.
it's definitely changed the game, because right when I was getting back into this, that's when we were all home. And so it was like, okay, that whole passe, like, oh, I can't use your home studio, like that was all out the window. Everybody was using a home studio or outfitting a closet or doing something. So I think my timing on that hit at a good pace. But I do have a downtown studio that I work with that I love. The engineer is like 30 years of experience. He's great. Um, One little thing I wanted to share is a trick. He's always telling me, oh, here, eat an apple if you hear mouth noise or you're having a little trouble with just the sounds that come out of your mouth that kind of take the cleanliness out of your sound. So, who wants to travel around with an apple? And I don't want to eat apples from the studio. So I was like, applesauce. I wonder if that works. And we keep applesauce in the house all the time, the little squeezy packs that you get for toddlers. Well, my kids are 7 and 11. They still eat squeezy applesauce. It's easy, it's portable. I throw it in my purse.
Yes.
I started using that, and he was like, what did you just do? That was amazing. I'm like,
Ah,
it's applesauce. He's like, oh my gosh. And so I just take a little squeeze off of that whenever I'm in my booth and I need to clean up some mouth noise. But anywho, but
I
so
love that.
back to your original question. Little Lene would be very proud of herself right now to have headphones on, to have a microphone, just doing my thing and
Ah,
being creative. I can't paint murals, or I'm an okay photographer, but just being able to create something with my body, with my voice, it's
yeah.
portable. It's with me all the time. It can be an expensive endeavor if you continue to buy gear. You get a little into all the equipment and all the fun stuff that goes along with it, accessories. But luckily, my husband's a musician, so he understands that element of it, and he can kind of like
Ooh,
calm me down on the gear. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So
that
yeah.
is so much you shared, Lene. One, shout out to your husband for you having that resource and still allowing you to be you and not get stuck like, oh, I don't know what equipment to buy. I don't know what I need, and not being able to move forward. But let's rewind all the way back to the beginning of you wanting to be a lawyer. Where did that idea come from that you wanted to go to school to pursue law?
That stems back from high school. I interned at a law firm, and I guess growing up, you figure, okay, doctors and lawyers, that's who makes the money. And I really was
Yes.
motivated by a paycheck and how I was going to live my life and build my dreams. And so I figured, well, medical school seems pretty intimidating, and not that law school didn't, but I thought that it felt more accessible.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually pursued it for a minute, and then I was able to kind of put a twist on it. And once I switched over to media arts, there was a law professor for legal, issues. And so then I was like, ooh,
Smart.
maybe I can be an entertainment lawyer. And then my advisor was like, no. Like, one, women do not really make it in that industry. You have, live in LA or New York. It's cutthroat.
Wow.
It's a male
Wow.
dominated industry. And so this was back in the late 90s when this advice was being given. But honestly, I think that would have been quite a slog. I really just wanted to work with artists or be around music or concerts or events. It wasn't about the legal issue. Now, the funny thing about that is, when I ended up in hospitality and working in venue sales for a large facility, I had a 7-page contract that I had to deliver to, clients. So 7+ pages. The base contract was 7 pages. I had to know it backwards and forwards and be able to negotiate it, defend it, modify it a little bit here and there. So I feel like a lot of what lawyers deal with are contracts, language, negotiations. I had 15 years of that. So
Wow.
in a way, it's like, okay, I didn't go to law school, but I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night. It's like I had a little bit of knowledge.
Yeah.
And I, so I feel like I got my fill. having to deal with that contract really did help me look at other legal documents in a different way, in a new light. I definitely scrutinize the fine print. I don't take things for granted. You have to read every little inch of everything. So I feel like I've gotten my legal fix, and it's not like something I ever pine for, which I think is good. A lot of people probably have those lingering things. Oh, my childhood dream of being a, fill in the blank. Like, I don't
Yeah.
ever pine for being a lawyer. So I respect the profession, and when you need one, hire one, but I'm in my zone of genius now. I don't need to be a
Yes.
lawyer.
And that's huge. So one, I'm thinking, what is the definition of pine? Is that pursue?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Or kind of, but in a like a longing. There's a longing there.
Okay.
I wish I had done that for myself.
Yeah. Your story of you going to school because you were exposed to a law firm interning there makes sense. And like I've actually seen people who practice law when they kind of figure it out. And I think a lot of people who are listening, that's how they picked their career or how they wanted to spend their lives, whether it was conscious or unconscious. But shout out to you for recognizing in school as you're pursuing that career in law, noticing the peak in interest, being a creative, and not, I think it served you because you weren't longing to be something, to be that lawyer. You're like, oh, but I like this. Let me see over here. Whereas I'll speak for myself, me wanting to work in the medical field, I was like, I want to be a doctor. Just like you said, lawyers and doctors make a lot of money. And I had people tell me, yeah, you make a lot of money as a doctor, but you spend a lot of time away from your family or blah, blah, blah. You got a lot of school. And I'm like, wait a minute, I don't know if I want to do all that, because the goal was for me definitely to help people. That's why I went to the hospital, but it was to be a doctor so I can make money to take care of myself. There wasn't any other details associated with that goal.
Right.
Luckily, as I started getting more involved with the medical field, I ended up thinking about my time. Maybe I could be a nurse then. I don't want my patients to die. I don't know if I want to be that close, like seriously. And that's why I became an x-ray tech. But I commend you because my brain was to be successful. I needed to be someone working in a professional field that everyone keeps talking about. I'm just so glad you shared that story, because if we go down the breadcrumbs of how me and Linné met, I was in a networking group, and my friend Keena told me about the networking group you were in with Jolinda, and I got to meet you through that. And that group, networking professionals, were all creatives.
Yep.
And that just blew me away, because the previous one was more traditional, plumbers, realtors, insurance. Yeah, you know it. And it's like, I'm over here sharing health and wellness products where people are like, people might like it, but I don't know. But then to be in this group of people, much like you in school, where something piqued your interest, and then you say you're a voiceover. Is it voiceover actress or just voiceover?
Yeah, voiceover,
Okay, voiceover
actress, actor.
I was like, what? Like, there's a real person who does this. And then there was another one that came to the
I know, there were two of us. That was the crazy thing. I was like, how small is Richmond? Come on.
Right. And not even, but it was actually for me, how big is it? Because just like the person who shared with you, oh, you got to move to LA, you got to go here. That's not true.
Yeah.
That is a limiting belief of only people in New York can do fashion. Not true.
Right.
And
Stereotype.
Yes, I always ask, based on people offering advice, are these people who went down the path? Did they actually try? And they were like, no, I want you to move to LA. Did they keep finding jobs that were only available in those cities? Or is that just what everybody said?
Yeah. I mean, that person in particular was a college professor, and she was a lawyer. So she was, walking the walk in that regard. But she was a musician as well. So she kind of had a multifaceted thing going on. But, being a tenured professor was her jam, and she was right where she needed to be. I think LA or New York would have swallowed her up. And she was very introverty. I am like ultimate extrovert. So it wasn't a good fit for her. But you're right. I mean, you have to temper people's advice. But again, I was a young college kid. She was everything, everybody talked about how amazing she was. So people trusted her advice. And it wasn't bad advice. It really wasn't.
No. And it's no, There's no good or bad. It's more of, like you mentioned, she's an introvert. You're an extrovert. So if I'm viewing something as an introvert of, ooh, New York City is kind of busy, it's a lot of excitement. New York is awful. Don't go to New York. But then if someone who's extroverted is like, I love the lights, I love the busyness, I love being able to have access to so many different people, different people and perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm saying it, it's based off of my experiences, it's based off of my beliefs. So if I'm sharing it, it may not gel with you because
Right.
you're not me. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from your share. And I appreciate that because I want others to know we could share all the stuff on here. But if you are not exuding the same mindset that we're exuding, you might think this is awful advice, and that is okay.
Mm-hmm.
You take what you need and leave what you don't. Do you remember that pivotal moment of, I'm going to go this way?
I think it evolved over time. I mean, I was around 20 because it was
Okay.
my mid college career. So you go in at 18, you come out at 22-ish. So I was probably around 20 heading into my junior year. And I think it was also just exposure to all of the talented people that, were really plus first 2 years. Come on, let's be honest. Like that was just, you're really just getting your sea legs as far as college, freedom, independence, responsibility,
Adulthood. Yeah.
discipline. Let's just say the first 2 years, I was finding myself, if you
Mm-hmm.
will. Junior year, I was ready to buckle down. And so that I think when your focus and your intention changes, things start to open up a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So I made myself available for more like projects. When you're an audio or a video student, you have to collaborate a lot with your classmates on projects. They're animating something over here, but they need a voice for it. I would volunteer. And so once you hear your voice on a microphone for the first time, like in headphones, it's kind of this cool, like, whoa, wait a minute, hello. Um, and then people start telling you, hey, you have a great voice. Oh, well, thanks. Hey, you should do something with that. Oh, what could I
Yeah.
do? Helping people out with their projects and, receiving their help to get through certain semesters and different things that we were assigned. That helped to kind of open my eyes. And then my minor was music industry. So I wasn't a musician. So I can't even read music, but I am a student of music and the technology needed to produce it.
Ah, gotcha.
So you can be a music industry minor, take like ear training, and you can get a C and like kind of get yourself through the music classes. So you have a general knowledge, but then there was so much business behind it too, which was really great. So I loved the music industry minor piece of things. Plus, I thought that could help me with concert production and working with agents and all that good stuff. And it did. But I needed a work study for, I don't know, like 2 or 3 credits. Well, I happened to be working at a video rental store in town. And my boss, her husband was a DJ on the local radio station.
Oh, so cool.
So we started talking about that and how I needed this work study internship kind of deal. And she's like, oh, you should go talk to so and so. So I did. And I ended up getting a job as a DJ. It wasn't,
Nice.
I mean, it sounds amazing and it was, but it was the Friday night overnight shift. So midnight to
Oh.
6 a.m. So on the top 40 station, mind you. So I'm playing all the jams. Everybody's out there partying on Friday night. I'm the DJ on the main station, which was really cool. It also, and this kind of ties into what we may get into later, but it was very much like I was running my 20 something Delilah, kind of show because people would call in with their requests, makeup songs, breakup songs, just wanting to dance and have a good time songs. Now, if you know anything about radio, it's very corporate. And even back then, everything was programmed into the computer. So there was a very set list of music and it just chugs along. These machines were built, it seems like in the 50s, and they just work. They just keep chugging along. And you're like, okay,
Wow.
all I have to do is fade up to give the weather and blah, blah, blah. Here's what's happening. And then fade down and, everything is just supposed to play, right? So when these requests would come in on the phones, I'm like, what am I supposed to do with, like, I'm not allowed to mess with the order. So I would, and I would, because I'm kind of a rule breaker. But the sneaky little thing about that is there's something called an air check. So there are these cassette tapes in the control room. And that was for the program director to listen to all the DJs and just like quality control, spot check you every once in a while. And you're supposed to grab your tape, throw it in the boss's inbox so he can check you out. I never thought he actually listened to those. Come to find out, he actually did. And so I would get like little sticky notes because we were never there at the same time.
Oh,
You know,
gotcha.
hey, stick to the schedule. Don't mess with the programming. Like guys from New York put all that together. Like, it's not your job. And I'm just like, yes, sir. Sorry. So that was fun. And then sometimes I had to come in on Sundays and work for the country station,
Okay.
which was not my jam. But in that area in Harrisonburg, so I went to JMU, go Dukes. Country was a big deal. And so the locals, would call in and we'd do contests and, giveaways and all the stuff. That was a huge moment for me because I got to get feedback from, the veteran program directors once I stopped breaking the rules and messing with the programming. I got some honest feedback on my voice, which was good. It's just crazy how, the need for just a couple credit hours turned into an internship that really opened the door for me to try this out as an industry. Now, DJs don't make a lot of money at all. It's actually kind of a grind. They end up having to spend a lot of time in production. I did get to record some commercials there too, which was also a great experience. But again, you try things and you move on. And I actually had to put it on the back burner for, most of my career until 2 years ago.
So what was the feedback? Do you recall what they offered about your voice?
Yeah, early on, some of it was like, okay, you're a little sing-songy. They definitely taught me to kind of drop any accent that I had. Now it's creeped back in a little bit over the years, but now that I'm getting back into, I have to make sure no Southern accent comes through. Been in Virginia my whole life.
Yeah.
So I have to keep it very neutral. Even on the country station, they didn't want you to have any kind of twang. Just keeping that nice and clean. One day we were experiencing storms. You have to give, it's a flood watch, it's a flood warning, Well, there's a very distinct difference between those two. And I had to learn, I got my butt chewed a little bit on that. So again, not really thinking, okay, so who's listening to this? Well, Frank listens because this was a different gentleman. He was in charge of the weather and all the news wires and things like that we used. I made the mistake of saying that there was a flood warning. Flood watch is just, okay, we're a little nervous about it. We're watching things. We'll let you know if anything, develops. A warning is like floods are imminent, like seek higher ground, turn around, don't drown, the whole thing. And so I said,
I've never heard that before.
Turn around, don't drown. Oh yeah, don't ever drive through high water. No.
You know that.
So, he comes bustling into the studio one more. He's like, "What did you just say?" I'm like, "I'm sorry. What are you talking about?" And he's like, "You just said there's a flood warning." He's like, "We're in a flood watch. You're going to cause pandemonium." And I'm like, "Really? Like, do you think that many people are listening to me?" But he took it very seriously. And so after that, I also took it very seriously and was very careful about what I said. So
that is funny.
Since then, someone has put out a meme about tacos. I'll have to share it with you. It's hilarious. So it's like taco, and it was to express the difference between the two. So a taco watch, we're just wanting tacos. We're thinking about the toppings, the type of hard, soft. What are we getting into? Taco warning, like tacos are happening. Like someone's having tacos without me, and like this is not.
It's a problem.
It's a problem. So I'll find that little graphic and share it with you. But yeah, so that was the feedback. I had a lot to learn back then. And
it sounds like you actually implemented it, which is huge too. I was watching America's Next Top Model on Netflix, old season. And Tyra shared something that her mom told her as she was giving advice to one of the contestants that were sent home. She was like, "We're offering you improvement or feedback or constructive criticism. It's not to who you are. It's not to who Linné is, but the product of what you're trying to produce, which is voice." And she was like, "My mom told me they're not critiquing you, Tyra. They're critiquing the product for you to present whatever garment, hair, care, whatever that you're modeling for." And that struck me really deeply because I am now more keen to ask for feedback. Like, how do you like the podcast? And people are like, oh, it's great. I'm like, no, no. What can I improve? What didn't you like? What part do you like? Because people want to be nice. And I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate that. But how do we grow if no one told me, like my first 2 episodes, people are like, the volume is really low.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't just one person, it was like 2, 3, because I very clearly said, your feedback. Is the volume okay? Is the length too long? Is it? And they gave it to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to share that. You sound like you took that feedback. It didn't tarnish who you were, like, oh my God, my voice is awful, or I was bad. I didn't follow the rules. But
Yeah,
then
I had
have,
like zero training too. So that was the thing. A lot of it was fly by night. And I literally was, it was overnight shifts. So I I learned, the on off, the big red button for this or that. And that was about it. And they would just like, don't touch anything else, and it's like, yes, sir. Um, when you start to noodle around with things, it's like, okay, what does this do? What does this do? And then
noodle around. I love that.
but they did, expand responsibilities over time. And I've always loved behind the scenes, even, especially in events, but the top 40 countdowns and things like that, that used to just come on a CD, or I guess it used to be 8 tracks or reel
Mm.
to reels or whatever back in the day. But Casey Kasem or the whatever weekend top 40, it's on a CD. It's not like as up to the minute as you would imagine. And so the station would receive the CD for the week. Certain weekends, it was my job to just pop that CD in, hit play, set it and forget
I
it.
gotcha.
And
Okay.
I had less interaction. There were just certain spots where I had to stop it, give the weather, whatever, a couple local spots, and then, hit the button again. That was kind of interesting, pulling the curtain back a little bit to say, what? This isn't live? Like, what? Because I
That's
mean,
so good.
could you
Mm.
imagine Ryan Seacrest these days actually doing anything live? I mean, that everything he does is in the can, is what we call it. Like
Mm.
it's recorded, done, however long. And I mean, some of his shows, I guess he does the day of or a day in advance or two. But and you know that now with your podcast, you know how
Yes.
much lead time you need for certain things in production. So
Yes. And that's huge because so often we'll see other people on like Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok living the life. It's so much fun. And we assume they're just doing it the spur of the moment. But this could have been planned out a week ahead, a couple of days before, where it's just not. mm, it's not as spontaneous and
mhm,
exciting as it looks because there's a lot of work behind it. So, respecting the person for the work behind, you can only do if you are behind as well, which
right.
means you're noodling around, trying different things out.
Yep.
And I think that's so good. I'm actually going to start using that because I feel like I'm in a season where I am just trying stuff, where before I had to stay true to the goal of going to x-ray school, becoming an x-ray tech. And then once I got to that goal, I was like, stop noodling. Even though I was still pursuing getting my bachelor's, considering getting my master's, but I was only doing it because everybody else was doing it.
Hmm.
And I did want to further my career, but I realized through noodling around, they don't pay me more here at this hospital. They won't pay me more whether I get my bachelor's or not. They won't pay me more if I get my master's or not. They don't care about that.
Mm.
And that's why I didn't get my master's. I'm like, why would I go chase after something unless it is for me to further educate myself in this realm? And I realized early on, I didn't know if I want to stay in the medical field for 30 plus years.
Yep.
So, Linné, what is something that you now noodling around with?
So I do marketing consulting on the side. That is helping to pay the bills. I do that, copywriting, copy editing, content creation, that kind of thing.
How long have you been doing that?
So for 2 years now. So when I left
Okay.
my hospitality career, I immediately started working for a small marketing firm, had the whole breast cancer journey. Last year, 2021 was my building year, figuring out what I
Oh,
wanted to be when I grew up, networking with folks like you, and just I continue to show up and just groups, trying to be my extrovert self in the middle of a pandemic. But then I was like, what can I do from home? What can I do from home? I had since left that first marketing firm, and I was like, well, I really enjoyed that work. That job was full time, but I was like, I could do that part time. And just through a friend and putting it out there in the universe that this is what I'm doing now on the voiceover side, I was connected with another small marketing firm in town. And so they look to me as a voiceover artist, but I'm also a writer, content editor, so I'm a marketing strategist for their company. Um, and then it allows me to pursue voiceover at whatever pace that I want to. And so I'm really trying to expand and grow that piece of it. As far as being my stuck moment, like the thing I'm noodling on is really teaching myself more of the audio production. So like just you said you had volume issues in your first couple episodes. I just ran into, hopefully this makes you feel a little bit better, because I just ran into a volume issue recently, and one of my clients I think was just too nice to tell me. And I'm like, but this has to be right in order for you to use it. So the next time I worked with him, I asked for honest feedback and I said, are my levels a little low for you? The problem is the levels were actually okay for him, which is why he didn't complain, because of the system he uses. He puts all kinds of effects and processing on it because of the system, because it's a phone system. I do a lot of on hold messaging. Now, the next,
okay.
it's it's an older system. They have a process and a sound engineer that will just mess with the audio until they get it to where they want it to be. But my client after them, had a more modern voiceover IP system that needed cleaner, louder audio to play with.
Gotcha.
So I reached out to them and said, hey, just want to check in. How are those spots for you? Is that, everything great? And she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you reached out, because it actually was kind of low, but it doesn't really matter because I have all these script changes I needed to get to you anyway. So it needs to be redone if you don't mind. And, so it's like, oh, okay. Thank goodness. One, I asked and got an answer. Yes, my audio was too low. And then, but I had the opportunity to re-record anyway. And so no harm, no foul. I learned, she gets a new recording, we all move on, and they will be a repeat client. So that's really great for me. So right now I think I'm at a growth stage where I'm trying to get beyond the friends and family, realm of this is what I do, and go beyond that. And there's a lot of tech involved. There's a lot of prefab marketing and marketing systems and sales systems and funnels involved with getting yourself to that next level for prospecting. I'm having to noodle and learn all of that on top of recording clean audio and being able to edit the pops and S's and clicks and the breaths and all the things.
Oh yeah.
So, you want to deliver a clean product. I don't want to just have to rent studio space every time I record. I want to be able to do it from home, feel good about what I'm turning in, to the client. So
yeah,
I feel like you just have to be a lifelong learner and continue. You're never going to be an expert 100%
never
in anything. So I just continue to read and take classes, sign up for webinars, all the things, until I guess I'll never feel comfortable. I'll just keep learning.
You bring up a good point, because we have this mindset of all or none. But if we were to put it in a percentage where you like, even taking the words that you said, you'll never be comfortable would be none, a 0. And then I'm completely confident, which would be like 100%. But you still have that space in between. How do I feel right now? I know the bare minimum, so 10%, 15% comfortable. But then after taking this course or collaborating with this other person who taught me something, now I'm moving up to like 25%. So that's what I'm learning, to have measurable goals of, can I actually measure this? If I say I want to be comfortable, what does comfortable look like, feel like? Where are you at now? Are you like at 0% comfort? No. And that has been huge.
Yeah. I'm definitely above the 0%. I'm actually gaining more confidence lately, because as your client base grows, you're like, oh,
Yes.
I must be doing something right, especially on the repeat client. So that's been great. I had one really amazing client back in the fall, but they haven't had anything else to send my way. But that was a really nice paying project that if I could just multiply that client, I could
What
get
did you
to.
do with that client?
That one was So, not podcast intro outros, but actually ads that were embedded in the front of the back end of
Ah,
podcast episodes. They were recruitment ads for their students that they're looking for. Some of them were career development, type of spots. So, quick little 30 or 60-second ads, but there was 8 of them. And so, over the course, they release a podcast episode each month. So, it's going to go 8 months, worth.
got you.
Hopefully by the end of the year, they might need more or they'll have another project. But, they pay industry standard rates, which is great. Because one thing a lot of people don't know about voiceover is we actually have a rate card that we all try to stick to. Now, there are the Fivers, the Upworks, and, the bottom of the barrel, sites. And I mean, some people have been very successful on there, but I personally don't feel you should pay $20 for voiceover. There is a value for value.
Yes.
I always quote, and now I've a couple coaches that I work with on the voiceover side of things. We all kind of agree. Oh, go ahead and just copy the link to the rate card so that you can say, hey, this is the rate card that we use. My rates are based on such and such. And it really kind of helps to educate the client and shut down some of the, oh, you're just making up numbers. Well, no, if you go and you look at the type of, spot we're talking about, it's broadcast or non-broadcast. It's going to be on the air in local market versus national market, TV, radio. So internet, there's internal e-learning, telephony. I mean, there's just so many genres. And this rate card is maintained by an organization that's highly, trusted in the industry. So it is nice because when I come from the hospitality industry, my venue had a rate card to rent a space in our building. Every room had a room rental, rate assigned to it. Again, it kind of helps with the math. And so
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting, jumping over to a more creative industry, there's still these bumpers and nice like guidelines that you can lean on. Otherwise, it is very hard to price yourself. I mean, as you know, as a coach, I'm sure
Yep.
you go through that, and figuring out pricing for the consulting side of what I do on the marketing side. That was tough, but you ask around, you lean on people like Jolinda, the one who brought us together,
Yeah.
worked with her a little bit. And so you have to be vulnerable, ask
Yes.
questions, and then it all just kind of starts to come together
Yep.
over time.
And that is a pattern that you have adopted throughout the little bit that you shared with me today of you being vulnerable, collaborating with other people, asking questions, trying it out. And thank you for basically sharing that image of if you're renting a hotel room for an event or a space, because it is the same thing. And to have that rate card, even in this creative space, just like with coaching, I don't know what your rate card looks like or what you get with it, but it's also my experiences that I have learned along the way, the conversations I have had with people, the trainings I've had, the collaborations I've had, the creations of projects, working in the medical field, working with my first business, that all comes with it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't just start living as a coach and then started pricing myself from there. No, you're getting 30 plus years of
Right.
experiences with me one on one.
Oh,
And
yeah.
just like your voice, like how many famous voices do we know of where we're not like, oh, they could have just got anybody. No, you hear that voice like, oh, I know who that is. Oh, it's value, whether it's the
Mm-hmm.
tone or their inflections. Like, how do you market yourself?
Mm. So the key to marketing in voiceover is, and this has been kind of hard because it's like, oh, for me, it could just be very much a gig, produce and deliver, but you're providing value. You're solving a
Yes.
problem. The client has a story to tell. I think for me, bringing all of my past expertise from sales, hospitality, marketing, tourism, and then of course, the 4 years that I worked out of college, I was writing
Yeah.
product descriptions and scripts for radio. And I bring all of that with me. And like you, I mean, yeah, there are the voice of CVS or, elite. Now, there are the celebrities. Now, they are in a different category. They can charge whatever they want. The one thing I will say about this industry is that everyone has been so welcoming. There are some great forums out there, Facebook groups, and online virtual conferences that we've attended, and they're coming back to in person, which is great. I actually know the person who is the voice of CVS or, Walmart and
Yeah.
you're like, oh my gosh.
That's
And
so
like
cool.
I've been on a Zoom call with these people and they're so helpful. They're very accessible. So you can reach out, you can ping them, send them a message in LinkedIn. and they're happy to help you. It's not that it's not competitive, but it's collaborative. It's let's
Yes.
lift up the next person. And I think that is something that really keeps me interested in this industry, because I preach that all the time, collaboration over competition, and
Yes.
will get you just so much further in life. I would love to hear my voice on a national ad.
Yes.
But it's the storytelling. So I'm just as happy being the voice on your training video that HR gives to all the new hires, or something to that
Yeah.
effect, as long as I'm able to deliver a message in a friendly, kind, compassionate manner that's not going to bore people to death.
Yes.
So I think most voice actors aspire. I'm not looking to do character voices, but I love hearing like Alicia Keys on an Allstate commercial. I mean, her voice is very distinctive, or Ving Rhames
Yes.
on Arby's.
Yes.
And I find myself looking up if I can't quite figure out who it is. I'm like, oh,
Ah,
who's the voice on the whatever commercial? Because I want to know. It eats at me until I know. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I got to put a face to the voice,
yeah.
but I don't ever care about being a celebrity or a face in the industry. But I would love to hear my voice, on a national ad. So that's my goal. I've achieved the regional radio stage. I
Yeah.
used
Yeah.
I used to bring my air check tapes home. My mom would listen to them in the car just to hear
Oh,
me doing the weather, even though it was weeks beyond, when I was on. But she was just so proud, that I was on the radio. Um,
yeah.
so I think it would be really cool for my kids to say, "Oh, that's mommy's voice."
Yes.
So it's that little moment that I think all of us pine for.
Yes.
So I do pine for that a little bit. And then, of course, I really enjoy cheering on and rooting for my colleagues who I've met through Zoom groups and things like that when they have those moments for themselves. There's a British voice actress that just recently had that moment. And it was some like maternity ward ad, let's say for us, it would have been like a Bon Secours or something like that. But
Hmm.
she did this whole video of listening to, she rewound the commercial, she played it, and then she reacted to it. She's like, you know.
Oh,
So it was a really fun moment. So I'm like, okay, my day will come. I just need to keep pushing.
it sounds like you're doing it. You're putting yourself out there, even being here, and definitely linking yourself up with others who
Hmm.
have shown you that it's attainable,
Yeah.
that it's not out of your reach. Kudos to you for actually continuously being consistent with
Yeah.
those collaborations. And that's so exciting. I never thought of Googling who's the voice of this, who's the voice of that. Sometimes I'm watching like an animated movie, I'll be like, I'll do that. But like commercials, I never thought about looking at the
Well, you're
commercials.
probably so used to fast forwarding through the
That's true.
commercial.
Or don't watch them at all because I watch Netflix.
And I'm okay with
Wow.
that. I just want the work.
Yeah,
I'm
no, it makes
okay.
sense.
I'm
Yeah,
okay if no
and
one ever watches it.
but I think too, voiceover actors are a huge resource for those who want to produce a product that maybe they don't want to use their voice, where they can have that for a coaching program, new product they're rolling out, where you can kind of separate yourself. If the business isn't focused on you as the brand and it's just a service, it's a great idea.
Hmm.
It's consistent, it's smooth, it is intentional. It is not you getting all up in your head, like I have to have the words right, because you would help with that.
Right.
You already have that background.
Or you could position the voice actor as someone on my team.
Yeah.
Maybe it's another colleague. And there are a lot of coaches that I've watched and followed that they don't like the sound of their own voice. They are the coach, that they're delivering the message for the most part. But yeah, if it's a canned product, a webinar people can watch at a different time,
Yes.
yeah, I don't think it really matters if it's their voice or not. But there's always ways to tweak it or position it in a certain way where this different voice makes sense. Oh, it's someone on their team. Oh, sure. And like audiobooks, I mean, there are a lot of local authors who have written books and they have voiced their own books. And I'm grateful that they did, because I know them and I think it's more authentic coming from their voice. But they actually hate their own voice. In fact, a lot of authors just find a voice they like through the database, Audible, or what have you. There's a whole back end to that process. I like shorter form projects, but eventually I might get into audiobooks. But I actually enjoy. I'd like to get into meditation. Um,
Ooh.
Calm, the Calm app and things like that. I think those would
Yeah.
be really fun. Yeah. I mean, there's just so many different avenues. I feel
Yeah.
like I'm in a great spot because I can pivot within the industry. I don't
Yeah.
have to keep pivoting to a different job. It's same job, same delivery, but I can always just peel another onion skin back and be like, oh, I could try that. Or one project may lead to another project.
Yes.
So could just be the client saying, hey, have you ever considered this? Or hey, I need you to do 10 phone prompts, but could you also do this e-learning video? And I'd be like, yes.
Yes. And
Yes, I
that's,
can.
I'm gonna call that the noodle effect. With you noodling around, it links you to other opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just that is the most exciting part. I think when I was in the medical field, I felt like I had noodled to my max because there wasn't a lot of growth within that radiology department. Like I
Right.
kept moving up. I'm like, okay, I don't want to go up higher. There wasn't a lot of wiggle room, but definitely a lot of wiggle room in the creative space. And so there's so much there, Linné. Like we could talk forever.
I know.
But I'm more interested too now because I learned a lot more about you and what you're capable of. I'm excited about that as well because I would like to expand my team. And financially, I wouldn't say I'm there just yet, but creatively, I'm there in terms of I really like collaboration. I
Mm-hmm.
really enjoy that and gaining different perspectives. So we will be in touch because I'm just now just super curious. But
Sounds
before
good.
we go, always offer a little think tank moment with my guests where you can share a current stuck moment, thought, or idea that you're experiencing and we can work through it together.
Okay.
So, what are you stuck with?
Okay. So I wanted to get your thoughts on the coaching parameters around motivation and discipline because my daughter's about to start middle school. The bus comes at 6:50 in the morning. I'm a night owl. So I'm looking at this as an opportunity. Now she can get herself up and out the door. I'm not concerned. She's a go-getter. She's so excited. She will make it happen, but I have it all mapped out as to how I could use this as a pivotal point and a catalyst to change my life, my routines. I mean, it goes back to self care, like, creating the time. So you know this about me, but so I wrote notes. 6:50 a.m. bus, head to the YMCA, let's say 7, work out for 45 minutes to an hour. So by 8 a.m., I'm showering, getting ready for the day. 9 a.m., my son gets picked up on his bus. So about 9:15, I've worked out, I've showered, I'm ready for the day. Both kids are in school, quiet house. I should be golden, right? My daughter would get home at 2:30, my son gets home at 4:15, and I'd like to really kind of be done with work by then. My stuck moment is, how do I get myself up for that in that 6 o'clock hour when my brain is popping in that 4 o'clock to 9 o'clock, when that's my time. I'd like to pose that to the audience and hear just people's comments about, has anyone ever converted from a night owl to a morning person and had sustained success with that? Or is it so hardwired that I'm always going to be a night owl? I need to just own it and she can get herself out the door and I need to just let that go.
It's so I'm hearing two sides where you did should on yourself in terms of should I do this? Should I not? What do you want to do? What does Linné actually want to do?
I want a consistent workout routine because I'm
Okay.
just getting into that. Found some classes that I enjoy. Of course, when you go to a gym, you're hemmed in by their times. So they're kind of random.
Yeah.
But I work from home and I'm on my own schedule technically. So although I do try to maintain office hours. So it's about consistency. I don't consistently show up for myself in that way. And I thought, gosh, this is a great opportunity for me to take this early morning wake up. I mean, and so many people talk about how amazing those morning hours are. Oh, it's so quiet. I have my coffee. I read an article. I clean my inbox. And I'm like, I am still sleeping. And
Yeah.
I need, and it's not even that I go to bed that late, but it's just how I'm wired. And I've always been like this. I
Well, let
mean,
me jump in. You
Yeah.
mentioned consistency of working out. So you highlighted what was important to Linné. So kudos to you for that. Because if you're doing anything and you want to remain consistent, it has to come from you. It has to be your idea, your motivation of what you want.
Yeah.
So why is this so important to you?
For my health, I think, having been what I've been through this past, 2.5 years, I just need to make these positive changes. I mean, I feel okay. As far as the cancer piece of it, but my body has changed. I need that cardio, vascular fitness. There's just a lot of elements. We eat healthy. I drink a ton of water. It's the movement. And
Yeah.
so making the time for the movement.
And movement is important. So it makes sense that you want, like, this is your motivation of taking action, of moving your body in whatever way you deem enjoyable. And it sounds
Mhm.
like you've already started figuring out what those are. So that's dope. Now, you mentioned consistent.
Mhm.
What does consistent look like for you?
That's the problem is I have ebbs and flows and fits and starts of how my workout routine, goes. So this past week I took 3 classes, which was a big deal for me. I hadn't really been that consistent, in a while. I think when I look at this new school schedule, it's always like a fresh start, back to school, back to routines, back to, my fitness routine. So I'm just trying to I don't know, amp myself up, for that excitement. Like the kids are excited to go back to school. Okay, I should be excited to have consistency. And I don't know if it's that I need to go back and post in a vision board kind of way, like pictures of me in my 20s, in a bathing suit, but I'm trying to find the deeper motivation. I know I need to, I mean, I could coach someone all day long. You always know the right thing to tell somebody else. It's the, listening to your own advice is my issue. So I just thought maybe, I don't know if you had any nuggets on it's the discipline too. I mean, just even getting through a work day without doom scrolling, and getting distracted. I'm still toying with the idea of getting tested for ADD. I just feel
Well,
like my brain bounces around a lot. So that's a whole separate issue.
I'm gonna jump in because you mentioned you worked out 3 times in 1 week, and that was a major accomplishment. So I congratulate you on that. The deeper question is, how did you feel after those 3 classes? Like physically, how did you feel? Emotionally, how did you feel?
I felt accomplished. I felt um, proud of myself for doing it. I had a couple, so I started the 60-day challenge, and you're supposed to work out every single day. Well, and I'm about to post about that actually because it just wrapped up, and I did not work out for 60 days straight. My body just can't do that. I have some physical limitations and soreness, and
I'm gonna interrupt you. How did you feel after those 3 days in that week that you worked out and
great,
accomplished that?
great because I had found classes that did not beat me up. Like I actually felt physically good. Like, I had gotten sweaty. So I knew I was burning calories. It's basically gentle yoga in a bar class. And
Oh, I like
I
bar.
thought bar was really going to just ruin me. But I was able to walk the next day. And I think that's what also turned me off. I had taken this gentle fusion class and it was too much, even though the average age in that classroom was 70. And I thought, oh, I'm going to start small. I'm not trying to like go into those high intensity, step classes or whatever. And I was so deflated because I was beat up. I mean, for the next 4 days, I couldn't even walk down the stairs. And so I was like, is this my body now? So this past week, I dialed it down even further and went even gentler, on the yoga and bar. And now I think I found my sweet spot as far as the classes that my body responds to well. So I think I can be consistent in choosing those classes. It's just the when do I go? Can I knock this out in the morning? So it's about routines. And I guess that's my goal is to just try to use back to school as a back to for myself as well. Like, what am I getting back to? Fitness, taking care of myself. And it would just be nice to knock it out in the morning, get ready for the day, and just know that by the end of the day, when I'm tired, I've already done my workout. I don't have to worry
Mhm.
about it, because that also kind of weighs on me some of the days, especially during this challenge. I was like, I just can't. I can't get on the treadmill. I can't walk around the neighborhood. I'm just too tired. But supposedly, working out makes you feel more tired at night because you're naturally tired. Again, I can give advice all day. I just,
Can I share an observation?
mm-hmm.
You mentioned that you can give advice all day. It appears that that is what you naturally do, but in you giving advice or saying the quotes or repeating what other people have said, it's taking the attention off of you
Mm.
and focusing on, I went to 3 classes in a week. That is consistency. Like taking these 3 classes for me, is that where I want to be? Or is it I want to be consistent with the type of class I'm taking? Because ultimately, what people say, working out is great, working out is, it could be, yes. But still, if we dig down into Linné, how do you feel when you're in the class? How do you feel after you finish the class? Do you have the feeling of, I enjoy people around me working out because it kind of pushes me more and it gets me out of my comfort zone? Or is it, I want to come every week so then I can start growing relationships along with improving my health? Because what I've noticed is you'll share tips or you'll share more of the logic stuff. I need to get up early. I want to work out. I want to do this. But if the feeling and the emotion is not in it, no one is going to be consistent.
I was a part of a gym before I got married, and I was going 5 days a week very consistently. And it was like a little family, and people noticed when you weren't in class, which was nice. And so I haven't hit that level yet, although the instructors are great and they commended me for being a beginner and, sticking with it. So I think I'll get there. I'll start to meet people, and maybe that will help. Ooh, if I get that twinge of, do I really want to go today? Like, oh, but if I don't, I need more FOMO, when it comes to the workout. But I think looking at everybody's yoga bodies, I mean, yoga really, I mean, these ladies are not twice my age, but they're definitely my senior, and they look amazing. So that should be motivating too, is just that, yeah, I want to be in my 60s, 70s with a rockin' body, knowing that I can get through any physical challenge. Again, having been what I've been through, which is a little triggering because, with cancer, you're always in the back of your mind, like, okay, when's the next shoe going to drop? Every scan, every
Mm.
appointment, you're thinking that they're going to find something else, like it's going to come back. So I think the other motivating factor for me is, and I keep trying to remind myself, is that I'm getting strong for like the next wave. You know what I mean? That way I can fight off. So I'm trying to get into that mindset. It's the strength that's like that Wonder Woman. I need to be strong for myself, for my kids, because if this ever comes back, I need to not be a pile of fluff. I need to have muscle tone. I need to have good heart, strength. And because the treatments, just tear you up. So yeah, I've been kind of working on a couple affirmations and things that I can repeat back to myself.
Linné, this makes sense and it sounds completely normal. If your perspective is, I need to have a strong, healthy body for this next shoe to drop, it makes sense that you would need motivation to have a strong, healthy body to then withhold or withstand this life changing event that no one wants to happen. So, how can you prepare for something that you don't want to have happen? How is that possible?
Yeah. Kind of counterproductive, but you know, but I
But
think,
that is normal. That is, I want you to, this is all about raising your awareness. It is like if someone wants to save money for a car, but they know they just lost their car in a big accident. I gotta have a car that is gonna withstand an accident. It's like, what? That's cool, but fear is not a motivating factor. It doesn't last long.
mm,
So just recognizing that, it sounds to me like you are focused on your health, but the deep underline is when shit hits the fan, that's why I want to be healthy. Who was like, yes, I'm gonna go to the gym. So when shit hits the fan, I am ready. No one wants that to happen.
Yeah, it's kind of a survivalist, approach, but I think I can spin it positively because I mean, again, my body has changed quite a bit and not in ways that I appreciate. And that could be age, it could be the medicine I'm on, it could be, a lot of different factors. Um, but I do feel like, and I do want to make sure I say it out loud that I do have these fears, but it's not debilitating, on a daily basis. I think every cancer survivor has a little bit of this in the back of their mind. Some have it in the forefront every day.
Yeah.
I don't lament over it or, let it drive all my decisions, but I do think it is motivating. And so that's why I'm trying to use it to my advantage because it's more empowerment. Like, if this ever happens to me, like maybe I wasn't so prepared this last time. And I really wasn't. I mean, it was 2020. We were trying to deal with a pandemic. And then I get this diagnosis. It's like, well, crap. Like, what? And so I think for me, and here's bonus. If I never get a recurrence, cool. Hot body, still got the hot body that I worked really hard for, right? So, that's what I keep telling myself. One, the advantage of having a strength, healthy body would be amazing. Would certainly help me get through any treatments that I might have to sustain later on. But in the end, I would be healthy, So there are multiple benefits to that. And plus, I want my kids to see that I'm trying to be active and healthy and not a couch potato. And they're still young and very much running around and getting involved in more activities too. So I want to be sporty mom, not TV binging mom.
But that's normal too, though. And before we wrap up, I want to ask through this conversation, what are you learning about your motivation for being consistent?
I think with you, every time I talk to you, it's more about just getting the words out. I hadn't really said that piece about building up a strong body so that I can prepare for the next wave. Like, I don't think I've ever said that out loud,
Yeah.
but if I can twist that to the positive, that is a really great motivator. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. As long as I'm also concerned about just overall health and, the fact that going to the gym is good for my mental health and, um, showing up for myself is good for my mental health and knowing that I can look back on my calendar and say, yeah, I did that. I went to class 3 days a week, and then I walked 2 other days and that was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think just saying the words. I mean, the first like truth bomb you ever dropped on me was, I think you had offered like 30-minute calls and we were
Hmm.
chatting and I was in kind of this in between place with my career and what I was doing. And I was concerned about what I was making at the time. And you said to me, "You are not your dwindling bank account." And I was like, what? Ah, you know? So you're great at getting like the words out and giving them meaning, So I think getting me to say out loud, I need to be strong, I need to be strong for a variety of reasons. But yeah, I mean, I'm just going to take that and run with it. So
And that's what I was going to ask.
literally.
And I was going to say, so we're running. When do you see yourself running? And we're not talking about how long. We're not saying like I have to get it. When are you running?
Well, it's really walking, but that's my in
Cool.
between. So, I
Yep.
mean, 4 days, I mean, the opposite days of when I go to class, if I can go Monday, Wednesday, Friday for class and then, walk or jog Tuesday, Thursday, or, I think also giving yourself grace. If I could get
Yes.
4 days in out of 7, that would be huge because it would be a major life change. I'm not
Yeah.
doing anything that consistent now. So the 60-day challenge did help with that. I'm not working out every day, but I joined a gym and I'm working out some days, which is more
Yeah.
than 0 days. So, it's the celebrating the wins. Every little bit is progress.
Yes.
Um,
And you're
and
doing it.
I don't tend to give myself a lot of grace. I have very high expectations. I've been told that, so it's just trying to, okay. I recently learned like work life balance is, obviously people have learned it's a farce. but work-life harmony is like a better way to look at it. You're never really going to
I
find
love
perfect
that.
balance. Harmony, it can all harmonize.
Ooh, that is so good because I don't like saying work-life balance because when people hear balance, they think it's supposed to be even balance. It should be 50-50. My work-life balance for this day might be 15-85.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I said. But it's me giving myself the ability to say, today is going to be a 85-15 day. Tomorrow will be a 60-40 or a 0-100.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for bringing that into the work and life harmony. That is powerful. So with your now noted and graceful approach of you being healthy, strong, and intentional with moving your body, Tuesday would be the first day that you'll walk. Is that
Yeah.
what you're
If
saying?
I
All
well,
right.
I'll try to go to class on Monday. Yeah. Tuesday
Okay.
I'll walk and listen to your
And
podcast.
and really, the only advice I would give, because you did ask for it in the beginning, like tips or tidbits, is
Mhm.
start asking yourself, Linné, as you're walking, what do I enjoy about this? My legs are moving. Oh, I'm walking a little bit faster. I got to talk to somebody while I was walking. Found a buddy. Start asking Linné, what do I enjoy about this activity? And if it's something that you hate, be like, why do I hate that? Building that awareness to what you like and what you don't will be the catalyst, will be your motivation because it's you. It's not what the world is telling you need to be doing or you should be doing this. To be a great mom, to be healthy, your body has to be. I have never had a six pack. Always wanted one. Have never had it. I've been skinny, like bony, wanting to eat bread at night before I went to bed. Never had a six pack. If that was my goal, which it has been, I have failed repeatedly. The
Mhm.
physical aspect is not motivation. It's not long term. It might get you there, but to consistently get to it, it has to come within the feeling. What do I like about this? What scares me? Even the class you took, I love going into a class where there are people like 30, 40 years older than me and they're kicking my butt.
Yep.
Just laugh at myself like, oh, you think you're going to come in here because you're younger? Girl, they've been doing this for years. And you think because you are younger, let them humble you really quick.
Oh, I walked in, they were just like, "Oh, honey, this is gentle fusion." And I was like, "This is exactly where I need to be. I'm starting at the bottom, so just let me hang." And and oh my gosh, it was so hard.
It is humbling, and I'm learning how to be humble quite often now because I'm exploring new things.
You
So
just said something that got me thinking, and this could be a nice nugget too. I think type A people are always looking for results. So, like you said, the six pack, unattainable. Like your body type or shape might not just be conducive to creating a six pack. And that's a hard pill to swallow when, when you look at media or Instagram and you see all these beautiful bodies, or even a previous version of yourself. So, I
yes,
mentioned 20-year-old me. Well, my body's different. I've had two kids. I'm not going to be, and I've let go of certain like clothes sizes and things like that. But I think what's hard for me now, and this is something else, it's like adulting is hard. When the end goal or result is fuzzy, it's like it's not in focus yet. I don't know what my strong, healthy body is going to look like. I know pieces and parts that I want to get rid of, but I don't, maybe my spine shrunk and that's why I've got this back here. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe it's not fixable, but I can still build muscle mass. Like I have to keep telling myself it's the progress. You have to celebrate every little win because I don't have that beach body picture of me, in a year of what that looks like. I have a cousin who's getting married about a year from now. So I told another cousin of mine who has an amazing body. She's been on this great journey, workout, fashion. She's got it going on. She looks now like she did on her wedding day. And we always joke, God, we got to get back to, that wedding picture. We were so gorgeous and we looked amazing. I mean, granted, we were in our 20s. And I feel like I told her the other day, I was like, you've unlocked better in my 40s because she just looks amazing. So I'm now kind of using my cousin's wedding as a way to like, okay, I've got a year. Let's see what we can transform in a year's time. I'll be really proud of myself if I get to that day and I'm happy with the family pictures. I'm not hiding in the background behind my kids. I'll buy a pretty dress, all the things. So I try to give myself little nuggets, but I think it's that maybe I need to workshop that a little bit more. It's the fuzziness of
Yeah.
the end. I can't see the end of the tunnel. I don't know what that looks like,
And Linné,
and that's hard.
that's life. None of us can see the end of any tunnel. And that was hard for me to recognize. Like, no, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, and then I'll get that. And then when you don't get that, it's like, oh crap, what do I do now? Because our only focus was the end. And that's not where we thrive. It just isn't. And you
Right.
mentioned your 20-year-old picture, and now you're going to your 1 year older self picture. It's
Yep.
still, you're looking at pictures. What is the gray in between? Which is, man, I sweat today. My legs are getting strong. Wait, do my pants fit me differently? Because I don't have kids, but I'm having the same struggle of my body is not the same. I'm almost 40. This is weird. Like I actually feel it. I can work out and it doesn't just tighten up like it used to. So instead of me like, all right, I got to work out, and which I was doing, I got to work out this many days. I got to make sure I get this time. And it still wasn't, because the goal was to look a certain way, period. We're missing the point of why we exercise. Just like kids, we were running around. We're doing it because we want to have fun. Let's get back to having fun. I started taking pole dancing class. You can come with
I
me.
saw that. Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh my goodness. When you talk about like strength, my whole, like, I felt like I had a corset on a day or two later because the abs muscles I was using, I was like, what is that?
Yep, that's
And it's
awesome.
so much fun. Get back to the fun and the outcome will come. It just will. And I'm just now trying to figure out, do I like pole? Do I want to dance on the floor? Because they have that as well. But Linné, you're well on your way. I thank you for being open and honest. And this was so much fun. Like we got to keep it going. Go ahead and share with everyone how they can reach you. Maybe they'll have tips to inspire you and motivate you.
Yeah, you can find me on my website at linneDiorio.com. So it's LINNEDIIORIO.com. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook. Look up Linné Diiorio. You'll find me. I keep my profile pictures pretty consistent, no weird graphics or icons. Um, and we'll also link the blog that kind of started this
Yes.
conversation, talking about failure and how that brought us together this last time. So,
Yes. And I'm excited about that because you write so beautifully
oh, thank
and
you.
it's very inspiring. So thank you, Linné. This has been awesome. I cannot wait for us to talk again. Enjoy
Yay.
the rest of your day and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Crystal. Appreciate
You're
it. This was
welcome.
fun.
Linné, thank you so much. I hope you all enjoyed my conversation with Linné Diiorio. We covered so much. She's so multifaceted. She's a resource and a plethora of knowledge. So thank you, Linné, for sharing your journey through so many creative avenues and showing us how possible it is to just noodle around, trusting ourselves, and just following that path of excitement, enjoyment. I am so excited for people to actually link up with you, and they can find you at your website. She shared it earlier, but it'll be in our show notes for today's episode as well at LinnéDiiorio.com. She has a blog about failure, and that's what connected us. And then we were like, we gotta have an episode together. So I'm so glad she shared that with me. You can find Linné on Instagram. She's also on Facebook, same, just like her profile. Thank you so much, Linné, for being open for our Think Tank session at the end. So many aha moments. I know you're going to crush that image of who you should be. You're gonna find your path. You're gonna love the skin you're in today, tomorrow, and a year from now. So thank you for being open and vulnerable and allowing me and all the listeners to gain inspiration through your honesty. And so many people can relate to your story. So thank you, Linné, for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you all for showing up. Thank you for being open to hear these stories and taking these nuggets of wisdom and applying them to your life as you see fit. Because after all, there's only one you. That is your superpower. I appreciate you. This is Crystal, your certified coach. telling you to get unstuck. Bye.